dry bulk markets, I think the right place to start here is probably the Fredriksen deal, selling off Golden Ocean. Is the Fredriksen premium gone forever? What do you think about the deal? How can we unpack this? And is it a signal?
It's a touchy subject, right? But I think the price, if we start with the price is phenomenal. I mean, he's basically paying 25-30% premium to NAV, or the Saverys, the three brothers are doing that. What they're getting for that is, of course, 40% of a great company, and a platform that they can use. And by use, that's where the broader equity markets are a little bit uncertain. How will they use the platform, right? How will they use the 60% minority shareholders? They paid a lot up front. They paid $1.2 billion for something that, as of yesterday, was worth 700. Of course, it's a big value drop. Is the Fredriksen premium gone? I think when a buyer like that comes along, and when it seemingly then strategically, financially makes sense for them to pay up like that, it's hard to kind of, and when they only want 40%, then okay, what can you do? I mean, had the price been 90% of NAV or NAV, so the premium, been versus market pricing had been kind of limited, then I would say, okay, why should you really do that? And you can say, okay, John Fredriksen, he's getting 80 million shares, maybe he's getting $3 more than he should, so that's 2.4, $240 million. Should he really risk his premium for $240 million? Maybe not. But I mean, at the same time, when you have a buyer like that, this is business in a way. But I mean, the point there is that what's going to happen to Golden Ocean, and there's a lot of talk, they need to consolidate Golden Ocean into CMB because they need to get their debt levels down. And let's see. I think it makes sense for them to not keep CMB.Tech as this diversified, to me at least. I think CMB.Tech would be better off as a holding company owning stakes in various subsidiaries, which you can have Golden Ocean become a Busimar or a Golden Busimar or something, where they can gradually drop their Newcastlemaxes into that company. Because if you take the 90 vessels Golden Ocean have, or if you take the Golden Ocean fleet plus the Newcastlemaxes they have, that's going to be a fantastic company eventually. And maybe you have to lower a little bit the dividend focus over the next year or so. The market will not like that. The market has clearly said that it doesn't like that. But if that ends up being the case, then Golden Ocean with a 40% CMB ownership and a 60% minority shareholder ownership, a dual listing Oslo, maybe even Brussels and New York, will be a very good, very interesting company 2-3 years down the line, because I think Newcastlemax prospects are very encouraging. But let's see. I think we just need to find out and hear more what their ambitions are, what they're kind of what are they going to do, and frankly, we don't really know. And of course, when you pay that type of money to get 40%, you must have a plan.
Is it possible to look at this deal without considering what happened with Euronav and Frontline, or should we separate these? Or is it just path dependent that this transaction happened, so this sort of open?
Who knows what type of fights they might have had in the background? I think this is a friendly transaction. This is no this is no quid pro quo, or what you say. But of course, we saw during that process that the Belgian family, they're not afraid of taking risks. They're not afraid of betting, huge. But of course, they know each other. They've done business in the past. So again, yeah.
But this is not a sign, from your perspective, to be bearish on dry bulk. and use that as a signal since John Fredriksen.
Not at all. I hear people say that, but of course the price he's getting is just you're getting more than full price for something. He has PA exposure on dry bulk. He can buy 4.9% of every listed dry bulk company out there if he wants to. I'm sure he's doing it in some cases. So I don't think that's a sign of him being bearish. I think it's just, again, when you have someone that need the platform, and keep in mind that running a dry bulk company, I think it is a bit different from a tanker company. You have much more, a much greater variety in terms of commodities, in terms of ports. So of course the kind of whole operation of a company is more complicated. Which then makes the value of the platform maybe a little bit higher, and Golden Ocean is a great platform. So to get access to that might make sense. But of course, also what you're buying is access to 60% minority shareholder base, which also has a value. It's a high institutional ownership, so that you can use that platform to grow further, maybe fund yourself further, maybe, and then it just needs to be done in a way that is manageable and acceptable for those minorities.
Interesting. But then, if you're summarizing a bit, so Bell ships have sold. We had the Golden Ocean transaction. We have, of course, 2020 Bulkers, which has had a fantastic ride. And then we have Himalaya. So what are you foreseeing for this? And there are several other players as well, but is it selective the keyword here again, or are you positive on China demand markets, or is it?
I think people are way too afraid of China, or I think the analysis is too simple, because you just say that, okay, Chinese steel production looks unsustainable, so then Capesize demand is going to falter. When you look at what's actually happened, Chinese steel production hasn't grown for 5 years. Okay, they're exporting more, so domestic consumption is probably down. But what you're seeing is that they're still, investing in iron ore projects. They're still buying iron ore. They're still keeping iron ore stocks high. And what's happening is that domestic production is falling. And this is, again, going back to, I had a colleague of mine 10 years ago who covered Northern Resources, the iron ore producer up in northern Sweden. It wasn't a good story, but I very much remember his slides on how China, the marginal iron ore producer with the highest cost curve, that's the Chinese guys. So of course it makes sense to reduce their domestic production and keep importing higher quality goods from abroad.